Hello and welcome to the I Am Evolution podcast. Spirit guide and soul sage Raina shares the knowledge of the universe to awaken and raise consciousness within. All of us have forgotten who we are and why we are here. But if we open our minds to new knowledge, we can use duality to achieve different perspectives to regain our unity. When we expand our awareness within, our possibilities become limitless. Let's begin to remember who we truly are and fulfill our mission and purpose to become conscious. And now, let's start the show.
Good afternoon, everybody. Oh, it's evening. It's already evening. It has been good evening, everybody, and welcome to the I Am Evolution podcast. I'm your host, Raina, and it is good to be back, everybody. It is. I got so much to tell you. We had such an amazing time in our Albuquerque trip. If you guys aren't part of our social media, which I hope you guys do, my mic is way too close because I feel suffocated by my mic right now. But anyways, our Albuquerque trip is amazing. It is, it was amazing. We had such a great time. We met so many people that we just instantly connected with. You ever go on trips or places and you meet people and it's like an instant connection and you know that you've been around with these people before and you just bond? And what was so nice about this event that we went to was it was a small, intimate event. And you know, we're used to doing bigger events, and sometimes it seems overcrowded. It seems it's just a lot of people, a lot of different energies mixed and everything. But this event was more intimate, and what I liked about it is that everybody from the first day was like talking to you like they're your family. And I remember as soon as we set up our booth and we started just talking to people, like people just started coming up to us and started talking to us like we've been old friends. And I absolutely love that. And it was just such an amazing time, and not even just the event. We got to meet two very wonderful people, Tammy and Anthony, and we're going to have them on the show in a couple weeks. We're going to do a recording with them. Just great, amazing people, and they were the facilitators of this event, Collective Frequency, I believe it was called. Don't quote me on that. I always get that wrong. Caleb's the one that knows all this stuff. So, you know, I'm just the face. I'm just the pretty face over here. So anyways, guys, let's get into tonight's show because, I have so many things that aren't working. Like usually my Streamlabs remotes and stuff are supposed to be working and nothing's popping up. So I'm really hoping that everything's going well. But I really wanted to get into this show because as we got back, it's funny the difference between Albuquerque and Florida, and it was just people, are people. There's still people everywhere, and yes, there is a lot of drug use in Albuquerque. We saw a lot of that on the streets and everything, but overall, people were just generally nicer, and there was just this energy around Albuquerque. And when we got back to Florida, it was just like this heaviness. And the moment we got into actually Atlanta, people were just being rude to us and trying to cut us off, and it was like everybody was in a hurry. And it's funny because it just shows the difference between the mindsets of the cities and the parts of the country. And that's one of the reasons why I love the United States. I may not be happy with what we're doing as a whole, but the United States covers so many different demographics, and there's just so much uniqueness in different parts of the world. But it's funny because as soon as we landed here in Florida, I just felt the heaviness. And as you go around people are talking behind, and even people that are spiritual, everyone is fighting and everyone's angry. And I said, you know what, Caleb? Because Caleb's like, what kind of show do you want to do this week? And I said, you know what? I don't know. And then all of a sudden I ran into a few people and I was like, I know exactly what I wanted to do. And so tonight's show is called The Angry Spiritualist. And the reason why it's called The Angry Spiritualist is because I've run into so many people that say that they're conscious and spiritual and they're angry. They fight. It's amazing because so many of us, they'll be like, yeah, I'm a spiritual person. I'm conscious. I'm loving. They're throwing around these words as if they know them. And it's funny how that, and I even pointed this out, that even though we go to these events, and during these events, people a lot of times act very loving and caring. And then when they go back into the real world and they're driving or they're on social media or whatever, all of a sudden we change, right? And and all of a sudden it's like, wait, where was this loving person I knew this whole weekend? This person that like was crying and had compassion and all this stuff, and say, we need to change this. I see your social media and it's crazy. And and that's the one thing that I think we need to understand. So if you, are you one that considers yourself a spiritual, and I'm doing my air quotes here, a spiritual or conscious living person? But I feel that like most of us that consider us I'm not a spiritual person. I'm in consciousness, but we're angry, right? That's the main thing that we're seeing. We're angry. We're angry at the world. We're angry at the way people act, or we're angry at the situations in life. I was playing Call of Duty earlier, and I started to get angry because there was all these hackers on there, and this one game was just ridiculous. These people were just not even. I was creeping around a corner. Someone would jump and spin around and shoot me, and then run, and then jump and spin around and shoot some. And it's like they're not even fighting. They don't. And I'm like, wow. It's like I can't even enjoy a game, and I felt myself getting angry. And so I get that, and I get this. Because if we're supposed to be spiritual, or if we're supposed to be conscious, and and we're living in this world, and we're supposed to be this loving, caring person, then why are we so angry? Why are we so aggressive? And this is something we have to ask ourselves, because how can we look at something and say, okay, well, I'm a spiritual person, and like to look at ourselves and say that, we're a loving person, but then we're acting out in anger and rage. And so the way I look at this is, okay, let's take a step back. And we have to look at the first thing that we look at is, are we conscious? And what does that mean? Because I ask this all the time, as if we're conscious, is are we conscious, meaning are we aware? Are we aware of how we act on a daily basis? Are we aware of how we react to things on a daily basis? It's easy, and I get it. It's easy to preach love, especially in certain environments. Like we go away to these events, and everyone, because we're around loving, non-judgmental people. We're around people, and it's such a small percentage. And then we go in the world back again, and all of a sudden we got to put all this armor on. And during these events, it's so easy to realize, to remember, wow, I am a loving person, but only when I'm here at these events, or only when I'm around certain people do I feel safe? Do I feel open enough for that to happen? And this is something that, we really, if we're really working towards consciousness, and we're really looking to move into this 5D space, and we're trying to evolve our past, then we have to look at why we're such an angry person, and why we only act loving around certain people or certain places. And living in Florida, and I get it, people, especially living down here, it is very hard. There are some very nice people down here in Florida, but there are a lot of people that are money hungry, egotistical. It's all, it's a lot of drugs down here, a lot of partying. It's all about money and just looks and everything else. So it's a very hard place to work and to live if you're so-called on this conscious path. But the first thing that we have to do before we even deal with that is we have to be able to deal with ourselves, and we have to be able to recognize ourselves. We have to become self-aware, because we can't just, are the results that we're looking for and the consciousness that we're looking for just don't happen by being in events and saying, oh, well, I'm very, at these events, I'm very loving, or if I go to a spiritual retreat, I cry, I do this. But if I act a specific way outside of this, and then all of a sudden, I'm no longer on that path. I'm no longer trying to get or about to achieve the results that I'm looking for. Because if we're not aware of the way we're acting in the real world, and I'm going to use a couple examples in a second. Sorry, I ate some Chipotle a little bit ago, and I probably shouldn't have ate before the show, but I was hungry and I really needed to feed my tummy, But if we're not aware of this stuff, then what we have to be able to see in ourselves is that is look at ourselves. And the one thing that I always tell people is, are you on social media? If you're on social media and you really want to see if you're a loving, and compassionate person, then go through your social media. Go through your post right now. And I don't mean right now during the show, but like when I'm talking to them. And after the show, I want you to go through your social media and see if what you're posting like. And I know some people are going to say, yeah, I post all loving, I post all this, but really take a look at it. Is your idea of loving and compassion being in right or wrong or in judgment? Is it like my post or my way is better than yours? Because a lot of people believe that they're being, a loving, compassionate person, but really they're being judgmental. Really, they're being, they're saying, well, my way is correct over your way. And if you don't believe this, then all of a sudden that makes me better. That makes me more awake than you. And being a conscious person, we understand that that's not how consciousness is. So if I look at my social media, and this is something that I've been doing for a long time now, is I've gone through my social media and I've seen over the years since 2007 how I've posted, and I've watched the progression of my evolution. And I could tell during times when I was hurt or through breakups or through things that have happened in my life, through friends or whatever, I could tell my angry side versus my compassionate side. And I found what was weird is I found this fight constantly. It was like, I'd be really angry for a point, and then I'd go really, and I kind of had this battle going back and forth. And then all of a sudden, maybe like about 8-9 years ago, it started to just change to where, okay, like this is the mission, this is the thing, this is the way I want to post, this is what I want to do, this is the way I want to act around people. When I go out, this is the way I want to carry myself, this is the way I want to be presented, this is what I want to do. And so it's not just about social media, it's about understanding who you are, because most of us, like I said, are angry. We're not compassionate. Most of us, I see some very great people who I really care for, and even just not people that are close to me, but who I like and who I've had some very wonderful conversations with. And then I go on, I turn on Facebook, I turn on Instagram, and man, it's like bam! It's like something happened, and they're off to the races, fighting and saying, "Oh, we got, people who do this, they're terrible people, and we need to be like killed." And it's like whoa! It's like whoa! I thought we were spiritual. I thought we were conscious. I thought we were working towards making this world a more conscious, accepting place. But we're not really, because if we're putting people down, if we're judging people, if we're fighting people, look at your environment. If we're trying to be not angry and we're surrounded by it, and we're not understanding why we're so angry, then look at your environment. Look at understanding what you're judging, not only in yourself but around other people. Because most of the time what we're judging in ourselves it's not most of the time, it's always the time, what we're judging in ourselves is the exact thing that we're experiencing in life. So we're purposely placed in places that we're meant to be so that it can teach us to be more loving. But the funny thing is we've got so caught up in being angry all the time, because we deep down, yes, we want this world to be a loving place. Yes, deep down we want to be, we would love to have it like every day where like we're at these special events where nobody's judging us and everyone's just so accepting and everyone's just so caring and compassionate, and people boost each other up instead of try to tear each other down. But that's not the reality of it, is it? And so we've become accustomed to this armor, to stifling ourselves from being who we really are. And I get it. I really get it, and I hope that you're thinking about this, and I want you to really contemplate right now about what you are doing in your life and how your life is presented to you, what you're experiencing. If you're running into the same things, if you're supposed to be on this path, first of all, forget the word enlightenment, forget the word spiritual, because they're all traps, they're all illusions, they're all part of the 3D world of illusions, of all these ideas that we're supposed to be. Even when I say the word consciousness, I only say that so that we can, as humans, like our brains can kind of grasp a concept of what we're really trying to achieve. But what we're really trying to achieve when I say consciousness is me. I'm trying to achieve me. I'm trying to achieve a sense of self and understanding myself through everybody else. And that's the true sense of it. So when I'm angry, like when I was on Call of Duty earlier and I'm shooting and I'm getting shot when no one's around, I'm in a corner hidden by four walls and there's no windows, and then someone shoots me because they're using hack codes. I started getting angry and I was like, I can't stand this game, and I wanted to throw my keyboard, and I had to stop. I said, okay, let's remove ourselves from this game. So after that particular match was over, I turned off Call of Duty and I said, okay, we're mad. Why are we mad? Well, because people are cheating and it's not fair. And I was like, well, Raina, why is it not fair? Well, I'm angry because I'm just trying to have a good time with this game and people have to ruin it by their ego. And I said, well, I'm okay. Well, if that's the case, well, then you don't have to play that game, right? And I said, yeah, I don't have to, but I like playing it when it's not being overrun by hackers. And I said, well, let's take a step back and let's play a different game, something that is less aggressive, less this, and something that you could have more fun at. And so I went back. I started playing Mike Tyson's Punch-Out and Super Mario Brothers and things from my childhood, and it made me realize that I was buying into people that their lives are that way because they need to feel something in their life. So they have to cheat to feel superior to somebody, to say, see, look, I'm somebody. But you know what? I already know that about myself. So I don't need to win and do things to feel somebody. And right in that moment, that anger is smashed down and it's separated from myself, and I'm no longer angry at it. And that's the concept that we're trying to achieve here in this idea of this show tonight. Is that by going on your social medias, by going and being observant of your environment and everything like that, by seeing where you're angry, seeing where you're judging, where are you putting people down, what's going on, and are you working someplace that's highly toxic? You can be the most loving person in the world, but if you work at like some toxic places like I don't know, like bars and clubs and and some like some jobs that are just really, really toxic, that could be the source of it, because you got to deal with that type of energy. I stopped going to a lot of these places, and it's one of the reasons why I work for myself, is because I just it's my last job that I had that was toxic was working for the casino. When I was a dealer for Foxwoods Casino, it was so toxic and people were so aggressive over money. I was like, this is crazy. I don't want to be here. This is I'm putting in all my time and effort to make the casino millions of dollars, and I'm hardly getting anything. And then I'm getting attacked by people. So I had to really take a step back. And I'm kind of glad that things worked out with the casino the way it did, because it gave me the push to move to Florida. And so I had to look at myself, because I was being engrossed in this. And this is something that I want us to recognize. So I hope that in this time that we're thinking about this. One of the things that I remember that I guess that and one of the people that I'm newly friends with, I saw that they made a post and they started becoming angry about and it's silly how fast and nonsensible we get caught up in things. And I'm saying this example because I want you to realize when I tell you this, you're going to be like, really? But this is what we do in our lives, and all of us are do it, and me too. I used to do this all the time. But I was going through my Facebook and I saw somebody, and all of a sudden they got really angry about a toilet paper company. And I guess that one of the things people are finding out is toilet paper companies are not only the bleach that they're bleaching the toilet paper with, I guess that they're using chemicals now in the toilet paper and stuff like that for some reason. And I guess now they're finding out that people are getting cancer from using specific toilet papers. And so one of my friends posted posted this and was like, oh my God, these companies aren't, and just went like crazy at this thing. And I get it. I do. Trust me. But it's not fair that companies do this to people that are unsuspecting, but it's how we respond to it. And so politely, I responded to this person because I know that this person is just can be so much more and doesn't have to involve themselves. There's other ways to fight the fight rather than posting the toxic and the angry vibration on social media. And so I responded. I was like, well, I was like, yeah, this is sad, but don't buy into this. There's other ways to fight. And I kind of went into this whole thing. And this person responded, yeah, you're right. Thank you for that. I really didn't see that. I really didn't recognize myself jumping into that. Thank you for that. You pointing that out. And I laughed and I was like, I'm not here to point things out. I'm here to remind you of who you truly are, because that's what life is about. Remember, that person is me and I'm them. So by me understanding myself through them, all of a sudden I realize that we're reminding ourselves of what we can be and what we're choosing to be. And since then, this person's posts have been totally different, because now in this moment, they're conscious. Okay, well, I want to be angry, but I'm going to post this instead. I want to say this to somebody, but I'm going to refrain from this and I'm going to say this. So like I tell people all the time that I appreciate them. There's people around that I'll be like, oh, I appreciate you. And Caleb's going to hate this part, but sometimes I give people hugs because he loves getting hugs. And just for fun, I always tell him no. So, it's one of those things where we can choose to be around people and engross ourselves in the gossip and the garbage and everything like that, or we can become something more than that angry spiritualist that we're going to be. So but I know we're like at 20 minutes. I'm going to try to get this close to about 30 minutes here. There are two types of people that we have to recognize ourselves when we're looking at this idea of, if we're going to be like, let's just get rid of the word spiritual, an angry person, or of like, what are we trying to achieve really? You have to remember that at any time that if we want to be peaceful and loving, it's a state of mind. Okay. And we get that up here. We do, but our heart doesn't get us because our heart's been injured, right? Most of us have been injured by life, partners, exes, family, etc., our experiences, people driving down the street cutting us off, so we have to look at, if we want to be peaceful and loving, and we have to be able to accept that we're also going to have these things called emotions. And yes, they aren't real, but at the same time, they are tools to help us to always get back to self. And that's the thing that we have to recognize, is sometimes the more conscious you become, the more of these emotions, and I'm doing my quotes again, that you're going to feel like they're bombarding you with, because they're teachers to who you are. So if the case, like when we're sad, well, why are we sad? Because usually anger and sadness a lot of times go in hand, because they play on each other. We could be angry about something and then it turns to sadness because something didn't turn out the way we wanted to, or we could be sad about something because something didn't turn out the way we wanted to, and then we become angry about it because we fester in it and we think about it and we overdo it, and then we get consumed by it, right? And when we get consumed by anything, then we become that idea, and that vibration, everybody, goes out into the world. Remember, the planet is a living being. We are the planet. The planet is us. We are Earth, and the Earth is us. And so we have to understand that if we're going to elevate ourselves and evolve through the Earth and feed the information back, because the Earth is a being just like you and I, and it said, okay, well, I'm more conscious, I'm more evolved. I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to become the planet so that other souls can live through me, and then send the information back, and then we can all gather this information. It's almost like all the hairs on your arm, right? all the hairs on your arm, just pretend like all these hairs on my arm are people living on my body. And every time these hairs get information, the wind, what it touches, whatever, and that all of a sudden that sends it all back here, right? And so that's the same idea that we're understanding is the earth is like the big body, and we're all the hairs on it, and we're just understanding consciousness and self and this experience we call life. And if we get consumed by the toxicity and all this stuff and what we call low vibration, then what we do is we give that back to the earth. The earth is a very advanced consciousness, and so it can handle a lot. But after a while, even like our bodies, when we're young, we can eat anything, right? We can eat pizza, hot dogs, ice cream, etc. When we reach about our 30s to 40s, what starts happening? We can't digest that stuff anymore. We can't handle that stuff anymore. And why? Because we've been feeding it junk, and our body needs specific nutrition in order for it to run properly. Well, the earth does the same thing. And so whatever we feed the earth energetically, consciously, vibration-wise, and that's what's going to resonate back on there. And so when we go through these issues like global warming and that ozone layer issues, all these different things, temperature changes and ice ages and all these different things, and that what these are natural cycles of the earth, yes, but at the same time, we as humans now contribute to that planet, and so we have consciousness into that planet, and that's what we feed. So when you post something, my point to this is when you post something on social media, or when you act towards a specific way towards somebody else, that vibration then goes into the earth, and that vibration is now fed to every person. That's why the old saying goes, if you love yourself and you heal yourself, you can heal other people. If I act kindly towards myself, and then when I go out to places, let's say I'm going to the kava bar, and there's a couple of people. I went out to the kava bar the other night, and I was playing pool, and there was this guy who was very unevolved and came up. He was drunk, and usually people who go to kava bars usually don't drink alcohol, which is one of the reasons why we go, and it's usually a very lax chill. And he came in and all of a sudden started coming after one of my friends. We're playing pool, and he's over, hey guys, how you doing? And kind of, and just kind of mumbling and stumbling. And then goes up to my friend and is like, hey man, what's wrong with your face? What's all the red stuff? He's like, aren't you a little old to have pimples and zits all over your face? And of course, me being, who I am, I started to get, oh, okay, this guy's coming in. Who is this guy? The protector side of me started coming in. Now you're poking it and making fun of one of my friends. And my friend's trying to play it off and stuff. I was like, dude, what's wrong with you? He's like, huh? And I was like, what's wrong with you right now? And he was like, and then he's like, oh, I was like, that's not polite to say to somebody. Like, you just walked into this bar. If you're trying to make friends and talk to somebody, it's not polite to point out someone's features and insult them. And he looked at me, he's like, really? And I could see, like, for a moment it caught. And he's like, really? He's like, oh, I didn't mean that. I was like, yeah, man. I was like, if you're trying to come in here and make friends with us, I was like, you don't make fun of somebody's features or if they got something going on. And my friend, one of them, he has rosacea. And so, like, all of a sudden, then he went and apologized. He's like, man, I'm sorry. And a couple of times throughout the day, he kept trying to be a little nuisance and kept trying to say some stuff. And I just, right away, I put consciousness right in front of his face, self-reflection for him to see. And every time I put that self-reflection, it stopped him, and he changed his attitude. He changed his person. By the end of the night, he was still a little rough, but by the end of the night, he was joking around with people, trying to fit in, trying to, be. And I realized that this guy's just lonely. He's drunk. He's trying to, find some friends. And because he's not an evolved person, his idea of joking and his idea of trying to connect with people is by making fun of them and pointing things out, even though in his mind he saw nothing wrong with it. We understand as conscious people, we don't insult people like that. But my point is that yes, we're going to run into those people all our lives. It's just part of being in the 3D world. It's how we choose to handle it, is whether or not we're going to stay angry. We're going to evolve. We're going to try to share love, because that guy now, if I would have been a different way, if I would have been that angry person, say, oh man, you're insulting my friend. Who are you to insult my friend? And I got really crazy with it. Now I'm feeding into that. And now that little spark of chaos becomes this great big wildfire of chaos. And then not only me, that person, the person, and like all these other people now are all infected with this chaos. And it's going around. But it wasn't anymore. The rest of the night, we enjoyed pool. We had nice times. Every time he tried to step out of bounds, we just put a wall there so it would keep him back, and by the end of the night he understood the boundaries and the limits that he could go, and he just was a totally different person. And so this is something that we must see. If we're the angry spiritualist, if we're the angry conscious person, then you have to learn to accept the world the way it is. You have to learn to accept people the way they are. You have to learn to accept the things that are in your life the way they are, and understand that this is meant for a reason. So when people say to me, they come to me and they're always like, Raina, I want to be a healer. And I say, okay, well, why do you want to be a healer? Oh, because I feel it's my mission to, help the world. The world's so sad and stuff. Right then and there, I already know that they're doing it because of them. They're doing it deep down because they're hurt, because they have something to heal in. And if they truly understood and evolved into consciousness, this 5D world that we're all talking about, then we realize there's nothing to heal. Why? Because everybody in the world is exactly where they need to be. And yes, there can be healings that take place when people need a little boost or a little pick me up, or a little and stuff like that, which is the reason why I do my work, just to kind of put people back on their path to where they need to go. I'm not meant to be in people's lives forever. I'm there to be in their lives for a short period of time, get them to where they can go no further, and then put them on their path and wherever they need to be. That's but you have to understand this. If you're angry, it's because you're not accepting what's going on, the way things are, the way the world is, etc. You have to be able to say, okay, well, there are unhealed things in me that are reflecting in this world that I need to take care of. I need to accept them whether I like them or not, because they're never going to change. I need to accept people for the way they are, choose who I choose to hang out with and who I don't hang out with, and stop going into this fantasy world that all of a sudden I'm going to be this healer, I'm going to be this spiritualist, and everything's going to be sunshine and rainbows. Because the more work that you do, the more that becomes on your plate. My plate is always full. Like, even when I try to take time off, and I'm going to. I think we might take a little break. I'm always taking breaks from this podcast now. Before, I used to do them constantly. Now there's other things going on in my life, and there's things that I have to take care of in my life that I'm trying to do with me. And so we're not doing them as much because I want to get things situated with myself. But you have to. When you're doing this, you have to be able to recognize that in self. You have to be able to see that and say, hey, I need to work on me. I have to do these things. I have to see those things. And if you're not conscious of your post, and because a lot of people hear this podcast, or a lot of people, when I go speaking or even anything, they hear and they're like, oh yeah, I know that. And then they go back and act like, and it's like, okay, if you know all this information, then why are you acting like that? Why are you posting things like that? Why are you acting like this in public? Why do you say things like this to other people? Why do you get yourself into these situations? So just because the brain knows it doesn't mean the heart doesn't know it. You have to be able to have it here, because this will say, you know what? I love myself. And because I love myself, that means I'm going to love other people. I may not like other people. I may not like what they do, but I still have to love them, because those are aspects of myself that are learning just like me. It's the reason why we, help the homeless, is because those are aspects of ourselves that, that need the compassion of ourselves. If by helping homeless, I'm understanding that the love is spreading through all of consciousness of the being of one, which is self. So, all right, guys, that is it for tonight's show. I know I have to stop there because I have so many more things to say, but I think you guys get the point. If you guys are the angry spiritualist, take a step back. go through your social media, really look at yourself, try to catch yourself in your interactions, what you're getting involved in. Does someone say something and you're like, yeah, man, that's like, and then you go off to the races and you get all crazy with it and get all worked up, and then you're angry and hating the world again? Because if that's true, then we really have become this idea of anger, and we're no longer spiritual, we're no longer conscious, we're no longer these things. I mean, some people say, oh, beings of light, and again, we're not beings of light, we're being of consciousness, but still, whatever way you need to title it. And that if you have this idea, then you got to become this idea. You can't just say it and say you know this and shake your head when someone says, oh yeah, that's right, and then act in a different way. All right, everybody, that is it for tonight's show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you found value in the show, please share it. I would really appreciate it if you guys, shared it. It helps us reach more people, and it just means that I love you even more, right? So, all right, if follow us on our Facebook. I see I've been off for 3 weeks, and I don't even remember this. After 12 years, I should have this memorized. But anyways, guys, follow us on our Facebook at facebook.com/I Am Evolution Podcast. Our YouTube is youtube.com/the @ I Am Evolution. Our TikTok is at I Am Evolution 33. Visit my website, soulandspiritguide.com. Sign up for the newsletter and receive VIP access to the show, hidden events, etc. I can't even speak anymore. Anyways, I'm ending the show. Anyways, email me at iamevolution33@gmail.com. And always remember to believe in yourself. And it's not our abilities, our talents that make us who we are, but it is our choices. Thank you and have a wonderful evening.